So here we are then, Craster Campervan Kippers. It's now about 10 months or more since I made my initial video about using an ordinary domestic fridge with its own dedicated inverter. And yes, I had one or two comments, very constructive comments, and there were the inevitable few people who doubted that it would even work. What I can tell you now is that having been away on 2 trips with this thing, it works a treat. Now then, on this recent trip, as I say, we are 12 days into this trip now, the temperature has been consistently over 30 degrees wherever we've been. That's through France, Belgium, Germany, Austria, and currently Italy. And the internal temperature of the van, with it being black, has been 30 odd, unless we've got the vents running. So this fridge has probably been working overtime just to keep cool. Now, I did forget to bring a thermometer with me. Yeah, I know. So I can't tell you exactly how cold it is. But what I can tell you is that when we left England, as I say, 11 days prior to me throwing it out, I brought a bottle of semi-skimmed milk, and I have been using that every single day. No smell, not going sour, absolutely in tip-top condition for 11 days. So I think in the absence of a thermometer, that proves to me that this thing is working. Now what I did do, however, is that before leaving England this time, I did fit an hour meter to the inverter. So that way I would be able to tell how many hours in a given day, or more accurately over a week, or in this case now over 11 days, how much this fridge has actually been running. And therefore, by doing a simple calculation, because when it is running, including the inverter, it pulls approximately 5.5 amps, I'll be able to work out exactly what the draw has been on the battery and exactly how efficient this thing is. Bearing in mind, remember, it only cost 104 quid and the inverter only cost 30 quid. And since the original film, my uprated relay was £8.50, I think it was, and that's a 200 amp one. I mean, way over the top, but I just wanted to make absolutely sure that everything would be okay. Okay, so the fridge hasn't been running for a couple of days, so what I'm going to do now is turn it on, and this is probably going to be what you could call worst case scenario, because the temperature in the van now is about 26 degrees. As I say, the fridge hasn't cooled down, so what we're going to see is what happens when I turn it on, and we'll see exactly how many amps it draws. There's absolutely nothing else running in this van at the moment. So there we have an initial startup of 5.3 amps, I think it was. And of course, bearing in mind that also includes the small inverter that is dedicated to this fridge. And we'll just let it settle down after a few seconds, and then that'll give us an idea of what it's actually using, and multiply that simply by the number of hours that it's been running over the last few days, and then we'll get a great idea of its total consumption. So when I first turned this fridge on, it was drawing about 6.5 amps. I've let it run for a few minutes now, and I'm presuming now it's got the gas flowing, etc, etc. It's still running now, of course, because it hasn't been on for 2 days, and it now seems to have settled down at around about 5.5 to 5.6 amps. So I think that's what we can take as, say, a running average. Let's just say 5.7 in fact, and then we'll base all our calculations on that. And there we have it. That's the percentage drop, having been run for between 5 and 10 minutes. In fact, well, let's be honest, it was nearer 5. So now then, using all of the information that we've gleaned over the 11 days up until we turned the fridge off, it's time to get all of these figures down on paper and work out what we've actually been consuming. So to recap, the number of hours on the fridge as of today is, or as of day 11, is 183. The amount when we set off was 105. Therefore, this 11-day trip has used a total of 78 hours of runtime on the fridge and its own inverter, of course. Per day, that is the 78 hours divided by the 11 days, which gives us 7.09 hours per day. We agreed earlier on the video to take a running average of 5.7 amps multiplied by the 7.09 hours, gives us 40.4 amps per day to run this fridge in external temperatures of 30 plus and nighttime temperatures around about the mid-20s. Given, as I said earlier, that this fridge cost £104, the total cost of the installation, including the inverter and the relay, is under £150. I think these figures make it a project well worth doing in your own camper van build. Far cheaper than spending £500 plus on a 12-volt compressor fridge, which my understanding is they're not even any more efficient on the running hours anyway. So given that we've come to a total of approximately 40 amps per day, and with only a 200 watt solar panel on the roof of the van and a battery to battery charger for when we're moving around, we're finding it very easy to put this amount of power back into the leisure bank. I think this is a project well worth attempting in your own van build, and of course factor in that you could even pick up a second-hand fridge for a tenner and try that. You really have got nothing to lose.